I don't
fabulous
know. No, no,
speaker.
it's enough. Yeah,
We're going to
it's
love it.
okay.
But I have to absent myself. We're getting on an airplane in a few minutes, but I wanted
Have
to
a
be.
very safe flight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to discuss a an interesting topic, which is the borders of Israel. And I'd like to hear from you. I'm going to open this up to everybody in the audience, and love to hear your thoughts on this. Why do we need borders? Open-ended question. Why is it important that the land of Israel, the state of Israel, the nation of Israel, however you want to say, whatever time period we're talking about in our history or present times, why is it that we need borders? Don't all answer at once, or don't answer at all. I'm opening this up to the audience here. Why do we need to have borders?
Security
Security. Okay, how do borders provide security?
by keeping out people that we consider undesirable and who may harm us.
Okay, great. So it's a demarcation line that says, right, if you we're going to make sure that only friendlies cross this line. So we have to practically we have to have a point where we could say this is where we stay safe. I'll tell you something interesting. Nothing to do with at least the Torah view on this subject, but I live in a place in Israel that is not surrounded by friendlies. We'll say it that way. And many towns like mine have fences around them, right? They build a fence around, and that way we say, not as our town does not abide by that philosophy. Our security strategy is completely different. And it says that we're not going to have borders, we're not going to have a line for the very simple reason that if we did that, if we put a fence up, then we would say you can come up to this line here. That's acceptable. And then once you cross the fence, but the problem is you can only put the fence on your land. So if somebody crosses the fence, they're already on your land. That's too late. So we want to stop them far away from where they can get close to our danger zones. So we don't have fences, and that way that allows our security team to go out into we call the shetach, out into the fields where people are, and that way we can stop any potential threat before it comes there. So sometimes borders work the opposite way, interestingly enough. Okay. Anybody else have a reason why we need borders? Okay. Well, okay. So we have security as one answer. Some other answers that sometimes people offer is that there's we need borders for halachic reasons because there are mitzvos that have to be done in the land of Israel, and you got to know where the land of Israel is, what the borders, what the lines of the land of Israel are, in order to know how to do the mitzvah. So that's another reason that I frequently get when I give this class is to know where we do the mitzvahs that are dependent on the land of Israel. Okay. So that's now the question is we're going to go back a little on what we did last week, just review a little so we understand. Last week we had discussed the idea of how do we understand what constitutes the land of Israel? If I was going to say where is the land of Israel, what is the land of Israel, how would you define what makes something the land of Israel? And many people, I'll open it up if anybody has any answers they want to give here. What makes something the land of Israel? This is not a participatory crowd today. I gotta say, everyone's just sitting there. Let's go. It's like 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning already. I understand somebody like me living in Israel, it's 6 p.m. already, so you get a little tired, but you guys are just starting your day. Okay, so Morty, if you're talking, your microphone's off. I see your lips moving, but your microphone's off, so we don't hear you.
How about now?
Now I hear you.
A lot of people are away on, from Passover. That's why there are very few participants.
That's okay.
Okay.
But I'm not interested in how many people are here. I want the people that are here to be participating more than just observing. That's what I'm looking for.
So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is, what makes something the land of Israel? How do I know if I'm standing in Century Village, I'm not standing in Israel, and I'm standing where I am in what's called Mitzvah Yericho, I am standing in Israel?
Well, the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is there. As the Gemara talks about the environment, the air of Israel makes it the land of Israel.
Oh, it could be. That could be the land. I mean, I'm not sure how you're gonna know about the air. Yeah.
The environment, I don't know about the air, but I used to live in Tel Aviv. I was born there.
Okay.
So I felt when I left Eretz Yisrael when I was young, I really missed it. I used to go to the wharf to see the ships come in, and I was wishing to hop on one of the ships to go back. That's how I missed my homeland.
I hear.
So
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a personal
anecdote. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear. So the question is that we're dealing with is, how do we know what Eretz Yisrael is? And the last year we talked about, we said some things that might surprise you if you didn't. You're gonna just have to trust me because you didn't hear the buildup from last week. But when there are, I just want to mention one thing. Mrs. Shapiro says she's having trouble turning on her mic, so she's messaging me her thoughts. So she wrote to me that the borders mentioned in the Torah, and I'm glad you said it because I feel like Mrs. Shapiro and I are like have a mind melt here, where she's always giving the answers I want to hear, but then I want to correct them. Their borders mentioned in the Torah. We're going to get to in a minute. That's how we know where it is. But we talked about the idea that wherever the Jewish army and the Jewish king or a Jewish prophet working on behalf, representing the Jewish people, whatever land they step on and declare this is Israel, this is Eretz Yisrael, becomes Eretz Yisrael. So to the point where if they didn't do that, then even what we consider Eretz Yisrael, parts of the land of Israel that are in the borders of Israel, would not be considered parts of Eretz Yisrael. So we talked about how between the first and second Beis HaMikdash, when the Jews were exiled, so at that point the land wasn't Kadosh, and it wasn't considered Eretz Yisrael. So even if you're standing in Beit Shemesh, in Mitzvah Yericho, in Tel Aviv, you would not be standing in the land of Israel. You say it sounds crazy. Not only that, but if a Jewish king or a Jewish prophet working on behalf of the Jewish people went to Paris, France, and declared it, this is now Eretz Yisrael, it would be Eretz Yisrael and would have the same kedusha as Netanya and Beit Shemesh and Modi'in and all the different places in Eretz Yisrael, as Mr. Shapiro says, the borders of Eretz Yisrael. So it becomes that Eretz Yisrael is defined not by any geographical, let's say, coordinates or borders that are there, but rather it's defined by us. Now, Mr. Shapiro brings up a point, says the area around the Beis HaMikdash is always Kadosh, correct? That's going to be another shiur we're going to have, but the answer is yes, from Shlomo Melech until today. So here we're just talking about the larger Eretz Yisrael, specifically not talking about Yerushalayim. Okay, so that's what we're going to define as how we know what is Eretz Yisrael. It's where we, the Jewish people, represented by a king, represented by a prophet, goes and either captures the land by force or what's called by chazaka, which is that the world acquiesces and says, yes, we all agree, this is the Jewish people's land. So we did that after we came back from Mitzrayim. Well, we declared the land, we conquered the land and then declared it to be ours. And after when we rebuilt the second Beis HaMikdash, when we came back from Babel, then the entire world acquiesced and said that it is ours. Okay, now when we go on and we talk about the idea of this is what makes kedusha, the kedushas Yerushalayim. Okay, so this is what we talk about. So then we say, okay, historically there were three areas of Eretz Yisrael. Historically there was Eretz Yisrael that's the Eretz Yisrael that we all know. Then there was Chutz La'aretz, and then there's Syria. And those are three different categories. Now I'm going to show you, we're going to start off. I'm going to show you, this is where we're going to, give me a second here to get this set up. And I'm going to show you, if you're not looking at your computer, then you're going to want to in about a second or two. 1 second here. I'm going to show you what we are. 1 second. Hold on. You got to give me 1 second. It's worth it. That's all I'll tell you. It's worth it. I'm going to show you. This is especially Mrs. Shapiro, who talked about the borders of Israel that are mentioned in the Torah. So I have to show you pictures, and then this is going to set up really the idea for us. Okay, here we go. 1 second. It's getting it. It's getting it. Okay. So here, okay, this is the first map we're going to look at. If you can't see the map, so now's your time to say I can't see the map, but I'm not even sure what I would do if you couldn't. If you look at the purple lines, okay, the purple lines include all of the Sinai Desert, all of modern-day Israel, all of Lebanon, all of today's Jordan, all of half of Iraq, and northern Saudi Arabia. This, okay, where you see this map here is, and now if you look over here, that way you see the psukim on the side. This is when Avram has the bris bin Abasarim with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem says your descendants are going to go down. They're going to be slaves for 400 years, and then they're going to come back up, and they're going to have Eretz Yisrael. And this is the Eretz Yisrael that Avram is promised. Now, has anybody seen this map before being used as the map of Israel?
No.
No, there's only one group that uses this map, okay? Only one group that uses this map. Anti-Semites use this map, okay? They use this map all the time. They always say this is what the state of Israel is really going for. This is their dream. This is what's called Greater Israel, and this is what they hope to achieve. Now, we all know that that's not true at all. But we are left with a question. If this is what Hashem promised Avram, is this really what we call modern? Is this what the land of Israel is? Are these the borders? Okay, everybody sees the question? Hope it's so. Okay, now, a lot of times we get very excited when we're learning Torah and we find, let's say, in the Gemara, or we find in let's say two Rashis or somewhere, a contradiction. Okay, especially in a Rambam, we're very excited. We see the Rambam; it looks like he's saying something that's contradictory, and we get very excited. Then we try to solve the contradiction. That's exciting when it comes to a Gemara. It's exciting when we see it inside a scholar like the Rambam. But imagine if God Himself contradicted Himself. Now, this means this is almost impossible, right, for us to even contemplate. Because if God is perfect, He can't contradict Himself. Which begs the question, which is this. This map, I'll step out of your way here for a second. The green is what Hashem tells Moshe to tell Yoshua to conquer when they come into the land. Okay? The gray that's right here, this area, which is what's on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, this is what the 2.5 tribes took. But when Hashem tells Yehoshua, tells Moshe, listen, you're going to come in and you're going to take this land. So this land goes to a little north of the northern Sinai, encompasses all of Israel today, none of Jordan. And then go up here, you can see Syria. It takes Syria and southern Lebanon, right? Southern Lebanon, all the way up to a little past what's today of Beirut. So this map, which is again comes from Hashem, is much different than this map. Everybody see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So, how does Hashem give us two maps? I feel like I should leave right now. Be like, okay, I've left you with a question, give you homework. We'll come back next week, see what you got. This is a tough question because I have to tell you the truth how I came to this. Because, like you, I'm sure, I came into this topic and thought, how difficult could this be? You want to know what the borders of Israel are? Open up your Chumash, and then just look for where Hashem tells Avram and tells Moshe and tells Yoshua where the borders are, and then just write it down. Get a map out and write it down. So that's what I thought. I used to give a class in Jerusalem on Sunday mornings to retirees. And I would usually pick the topics, and it was a good crowd to test material out on, right? If I wanted to use it later in the week for other crowds. Very nice crowd, very polite crowd. And they said, "Hey, Rabbi, could you do us a favor? Can we pick the topic? Can it be the borders of Israel?" And I said, "Sure. It'll take me about 20 minutes to prepare that class. How difficult could that class be to prepare?" And I sat down, and it took 6 weeks because how do you understand that you could have two different maps? Both come from God. If one came from God and one came from Moshe, let's say, okay, fine, I get it. Say, okay, I don't know, something happened over the years. But this is Hashem commanding us. And I got to tell you, these aren't the only two maps. If you go through Tanakh, you're going to find, we could probably come up with 5 or 6 different maps. So, anybody have a solution here?
Good homework question.
Oh, homework. So I give you homework, but it's going to take you a while. So let me help you out a little here, okay? So this is what we're trying to figure out. So we're going to look. I'll keep the sources up here so you can see them, okay? So Hashem talks about, this is in the top pasuk here. Ki yarchiv Hashem elkechas gvucha kasher diber lach. Ve'amarta achla basar kitav nafshecha ve'achol basar ve'achol vas nafshecha ta'achol basar. Hashem says that He's going to increase your borders. Ki yarchiv Hashem es gvucha is going to increase your borders. The Ramban says this is talking about, here we have to look back into our maps. Okay, we'll do the Ramban outside. This area encompasses, at the time that Avram lived, this was 10 different nations. Now, 7 of them were inside what we would call the land of Israel today, okay, or the state of Israel today's borders. 3 of them encompass most of the geographical area that's in this greater map. So when we talk about, and then this map, the next map, this is the 7. 7 nations are in this green area. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. And then what the Ramban says is when Hashem's talking about that He's going to increase your borders, we're going to start off with the lands of the 7 people. We're going to conquer them. Those are the Canaanite nations. We'll conquer them. And then later on, at some point, which you're going to have to understand, at some point later on, that's when Hashem's going to increase our lands and expand our borders to encompass the other 3 nations. Okay? Any questions? Arguments?
Oh, nope.
Nothing. Okay. Now, when is this going to happen? So the Rambam talks about it's going to happen. B'mei HaMelech HaMashiach. Right? When Mashiach comes. Okay, sounds wonderful. Everything great happens when Mashiach comes. Well, Mashiach comes, that's when the good stuff starts. Okay, why can't this happen beforehand? What purpose is there when Mashiach comes? So Mr. Chaffetz has said before that the reason why we need borders is for safety and security. So increasing our borders would be increasing our national security. The only problem is that at the times of Mashiach, we're not going to have enemies. Not that everybody's going to be Jewish, but they're going to be supportive of us. We're not going to have people. That's what the Gemara says is really the only difference in the times of Mashiach and our times is that we're not going to have enemies. So what would be the purpose? What's the utility here of expanding our borders when Mashiach comes? I'll tell you when we need expanded borders. We need expanded borders today. That's what our soldiers are doing in Gaza, right? We took over half of Gaza to create a buffer zone. We took over the south of Lebanon because we need a buffer zone to make sure that the Galil doesn't get rocketed and the Golan doesn't get rocketed. And then we took over a good portion, a chunk of Syria for the same reason. So that's now we need to expand our borders. We don't need to expand our borders at a time we don't have enemies. So why is there this idea that at Mashiach's time, then we're going to increase our borders? Okay. Anyone have any ideas? Anything they want to share?
Well, isn't this the beginning of Mashiach's time? That's
a lot of people would like to believe that. I don't know. But look, it's consistent. Our borders keep getting bigger. I mean, after I don't know, we gave up the Sinai, so maybe that was we got smaller. And then we gave up Gaza, but then we took some of Gaza back. I don't know how you make the calculations, but I don't know. Okay, so now, right, we're asking why is there change in the land? Okay, so um, oh no, Mrs. Spear,
Hello?
I can't. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, we need to expand our borders because when Mashiach comes, more people are going to immigrate to Israel.
Oh, that's a very practical answer. I like that answer. I gotta tell you though, driving around Israel every day, all I see is empty land. There's so much room for everybody. And I gotta tell you something else. You know, everybody always complains, oh, I'd love to move to Israel, but the real estate, oh, it's so expensive. Right? There's no right? You've heard that before?
Yes.
Okay, so and real estate's always dependent on location, 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 right? So what's the obvious thing? Okay, so you're not going to live in Yerushalayim, you're not going to live in Tel Aviv. We'll put you out in some of these new areas. Now, Mrs. Stone, let me show you here. Okay, if I'm not going to tell you because I'm assuming you don't know because you have to go there or study this to know. But you see this area where it says Yisrael, like the white box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't enough money in the world I could pay you to live there. Average temperature in the summer is between 120, like 20 and 130 degrees every day, 6 months out of the year. There's not an air conditioner out there. You'd have to live in a freezer to be able to handle this. So if you're going to tell me, and this is why I'm going to push back on your answer here, just because I know the minute anybody would land and we'd say, don't worry, we've got cheap real estate for you. It's going to be cheaper than Century Village. Here's how we're gonna send you out 30 miles outside of Baghdad. You're going to love it. Right? You'd get there, you'd put your bags down, you'd say there's not a chance in the world. No way. Get me back on the bus the other way. There's no way do we need this land because I don't know, no one's going to live there. I'll tell you that much. It is so uninhabitable. 90% of Jordan's population. I'm standing here and I'm looking at Jordan from my window. I live on the border of Jordan. So 90% of Jordan's population lives right next to Israel because the rest of Jordan is uninhabitable. You can't. It's almost pointless land. I'd love to ask Kadosh Baruch Hu why he made a land that you can't live on. Nobody could be there. So I don't think that's the reason. Now, Mrs. Shapiro, you wrote to me. Mrs. Shapiro's having trouble with her microphone, so she wrote to me, but it's hard to understand what you wrote.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Wait, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
You can hear me now? Oh,
I can hear you.
Oh, great. I don't know what happened. All right. So I was trying to answer an earlier question was we need more room because we have the ingathering of the exiles. So
okay. That's what Mrs. Stoner just said.
Okay. So I didn't hear. I had my whole computer thing is going upside down.
Well, now it's back up.
Okay. What was the other question you just asked?
That was the question. Why
okay.
when Mashiach comes, we're going to need more land?
But even before, in the lead up to it, that's where we're at now.
But that was right. Morty wanted to say that, but I'm not right. But okay. So let's look at another.
I want to answer another question just asked, which was about this land, the east side of the Jordan. You said it's completely uninhabitable. It's so hot. But Eretz Yisrael, when it was Palestine, when the Arabs were there and the British were there, was completely almost uninhabitable. Right? It was swamp. It was malaria. It was infected.
Yeah.
But you couldn't grow anything. It was a dirt. But it changed when the Jews came there. So obviously, when it's a Jewish land, and we come back to it, then it responds to us.
I hear it. Great answer. Maybe it'll be right. Okay, I can't complain. I'll tell you a wonderful story because I don't think anyone's going to complain if I take a break for a story here. I live in this place, Mitzvah Yericho. I live in the desert. It's the smallest desert in the world, the Judean desert. Okay, right outside Yerushalayim on the way to the Dead Sea. You've all driven right by my town. When we opened our town up in 1977, so this is we're approaching our 50th anniversary. So we opened our town in 1977. It was desert, pure desert, and the town went to the government and said, "We need trees. You got to give us trees. We need to plant trees. We're building houses. We need trees." So the government said, okay, you live in the desert, we'll give you cacti. Nothing else is going to grow. We'll give you cacti. So the person in charge from our town said, no, hold on a second. And quoted what Mrs. Shapiro just said. It's when the Jews come back, everything grows. This man that was in charge of giving out the trees was more secular than he was Torah observant. So he said, if you believe that, plant your Tanakh, and we'll see what grows. So we weren't going to do that, obviously, because that doesn't make any sense. But we did. We said, okay, fine. And I can't take credit for this. I wasn't living here. I was 1 year old at the time. But the people that were living here, who are founders, they said, no, we're going to plant everything here. When you come into Mitzvah Yericho now, and you drive into my town, the first thing you run into are apple trees, because apple trees are the hardest things to grow in the desert. Everything grows here in Mitzvah Yericho. I choke up when I tell this story. My front yard has a lemon tree. It has a clementina tree. Everything grows here. Why? Because of what Mrs. Shapiro said. Yeah, it's true. Nothing grew here for thousands of years. But as soon as we came back, then the land responds. And that's what Hashem told us was going to happen. And if you don't believe it, come to Mitzvah Yericho and I'll show it to you. And I got to tell you, from my window, I can see Jericho. Okay, Yericho. Yericho is 23,000 Arab Palestinians. I'm looking at the town right now. My eyes. I don't need binoculars. I don't need a telescope. I'm on a mountain overlooking Jericho, and I can tell you what you don't see. No trees. They don't have trees. Doesn't grow for them. Doesn't work. You try explaining that. But let's get back to our topic. I figured you'd appreciate that story. All right, we said that Hashem's going to increase your borders. When is this going to happen? We saw the Rambam said, well, Yemos Mashiach. The pasuk, the next pasuk, this is on top here. It says, "Ki tishmor es kol mitzvah hazos la'asosa asher anochi mitzavcha hayom li'ahava es Hashem Elokecha v'alachas b'drachav kol yamim v'yasafta lecha od shalosh arim al shalosh eila." Hashem says, when you observe the mitzvos and you love Hashem with all your heart, right? So then you walk in Hashem's ways all your days. Then Hashem is going to add to the land. Now, when does this happen, right? So we saw Yemos Mashiach. What do we need to get to this spot? It's not so easy. Look at the Ramban says here, Kasher tagia zechutcha shetishmor kol hamitzvah li'avat Hashem ava shlema kayemet liolam sheyeh galui lefunav shelo techta od liolam. This is going to get tough. Just brace yourselves for this one. When we love Hashem in the full, complete love, where it is revealed to God, who can see the future, that we will no longer sin. Az yarchiv es gvucha. Then Hashem is going to expand our borders and give us the lands of our enemies. That is when it happens, when we no longer sin. So now we're talking about, when we talk about the difference between, let's go back to our maps, this map and this map. This map is what we're supposed to have. No matter how many mitzvahs we're keeping, whether we're doing well, we're not doing well, this is going to be the map that we're responsible to conquer. When we no longer sin, and the Jewish people are at this perfected level, then all of a sudden we expand our borders to look like this. That's pretty incredible. Everybody understand?
Yeah. Sounds
okay.
Good.
You want to say anything more?
We understand. At least I do.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you where I'm at. I understand what is being said. Why it has to be this way, I don't get it. We got to explain that. We still have to explain that. Right? We understand the what. Now let's try to understand the why. God tells us in Vayikra, Al tmu b'chol ela ki b'chol ela nitmu hagoyim asher ani mashalech l'pneichem v'titma ha'aretz v'efkod avona aleha v'taki ha'aretz es yoshveha. We have this idea that if we don't follow God's words, He throws us out of the land. This land does not have tolerance for those that ignore God. The same way, when we return to the land, things grow and everything comes out better. The same thing is true the other way. And we say this in Shema, right? We say, V'hayim shamoah tishmu al mitzvosai. If you listen and fulfill and observe my mitzvos, then everything grows. But if we don't, then Hashem throws us out of the land. Our relationship with Torah and mitzvos greatly determines how the land is going to work out. Okay, and that is what we have. This is something else. Okay, so that's the idea. So here's my theory. This is my theory that I'm going to explain, and you can take it or leave it. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you disagree. When we talk about the borders of Israel, this is my theory. There are no official borders of Israel. There is no such thing as full. These are the set objective borders of Israel. The borders of Israel are always fluid. They're meant to always be fluid. So at times, they're going to look like this, and at times they're going to look like this. What's the determining factor? Our relationship with God. As our relationship with God strengthens and grows and gets better, then our borders expand. The borders of Eretz Yisrael are meant to be fluid. They're meant to reflect our relationship with God. How do we know how we're doing in our relationship with God? As a nation, not as individuals, but as a nation, look at our borders. If the borders are expanding, that's a sign that we're doing well with God. If the borders are shrinking, it's not a good sign. That's my explanation, that the borders, and I think it's a novel explanation. I don't think that it's the normal way that we look at borders. We don't look at borders as something that's fluid. We look at borders as something that's objective, that's set, right? And but really that's not it. And I see it reflected in modern Israel today. So I'll ask the crowd here a little trivia question. Okay. What is Israel's eastern border today? The modern state of Israel's eastern border?
Jordan, no?
Okay, you'd say Jordan, except for the fact that I'm standing in a place, right, where maybe people in this call it Judea and Samaria, maybe they call it Yehuda v'Shomron, maybe they call it the West Bank. This is not part of the state of Israel. Israel's never declared its southern border, its eastern border. It's never made it official. Sounds a little kooky, right? How could you have a country that doesn't have a border, right? But the truth is that fits very well with how life is supposed to be in this land. It is supposed to be a little kooky. It's supposed to be a little fluid. It's supposed to be not set because it is supposed to reflect our relationship with God. Okay. Any questions?
I fully agree with what you just said.
Thank you. I like it more when I got to. I'm appreciative of the fact that you like what I said. I like it more when people disagree with me. Makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I'm getting that today, though. I don't think I could pay people to disagree with me here. But I think it's a novel approach. I think it's something new, and it's not the way that we usually look at things. And I think that tells us. Now I got to tell you, this is the end of all the material I have. We could do more modern day Israel stuff, but I don't think anybody's, unless you tell me you are interested in it. But this is, I thought we'd have a larger discussion. Not many people are participating, so I had left a lot more time here for discussion. And nobody else wants to say anything? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
When Eretz Yisrael was first established, the modern Eretz Yisrael, it was established as a secular country. That being said, places like Tel Aviv would not even exist now, chas v'shalom, because unfortunately, most of Israel is not an observant country, and most people are not God-fearing people. So getting smaller and larger, I don't think it would have even happened in the first place.
Let me give you a different way of looking at things, okay? Give you a different way of looking at things. Take your average Israeli. Okay, this is how I look at things. Take your average Israeli, they don't wear a kippah. Okay? and they're not what we would call Shomer Shabbat, right? Okay, right off the bat, they live their lives. I'm going to try to prove to you they live their lives maybe not as what the Torah determines should be observance, but they live their lives in an observant way. Let me prove it. They live in Israel. That's one mitzvah, right? Chances are they're helping people. Somewhere along the way, they help somebody at work. They see a poor person. That's tzedakah. That's chesed. They go ahead, and most Israelis, as secular as they might be, over 90% of the country fasts on Yom Kippur. Over 90% of the country has a Pesach Seder. Over 80% of the country, ready for this one, makes Kiddush on Friday night. 80% of the country. Doesn't mean they don't have their cell phone out when they're doing it, but they're making Kiddush on Friday night. There are, if I tell you how many what we would call secular women are careful about family purity laws, about Taras Mishpacha, it blows your mind. It blows your mind how many people are very, very careful about it. Even our most secular Jews in Israel fulfill mitzvos all the time. All the time. And I'm not saying they're not doing something wrong, but I don't think, do you remember how when Avram Avinu is talking to Avimelech and he says, I didn't see any Yirei Elokim here. I didn't see anybody with Yiras Hashem in this town. I don't think if you came to modern day Israel, that would be as quote unquote secular as it was and it is. I don't think you could make that claim here. Because when you talk to cab drivers, everything is Emir Hashem and Baruch Hashem. And when the prime minister gets up and speaks, he talks about how God is helping the Jewish people. And you have an atmosphere here. It might not be how I run my house personally, right? But it is how it is an atmosphere where people are connected to Hashem and they're connected to mitzvos. So I wouldn't write them off automatically. And that's how I would look at it.
I saw a very interesting letter in the Wall Street Journal today. If I may make a comment about that. Hello?
Okay.
It stated that the young people of Israel are happier than the young people in the United States.
Yeah, we're second in the world, way happier than America. We're Israel, 30 and under are the second happiest people in the world.
And that's because they either joined the army after high school or they have other nationalistic positions. And they feel that they do, they care about other people. Unlike the ones in the United States, most of the young people don't have, they only care about their self-preservation or self-satisfaction.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, I think we're going to end here. We'll be on next week. I have to be honest, I don't know if we're going to discuss Yerushalayim or there's another topic that we're going to discuss, but I can promise you it'll be as interesting as this one. And if you didn't find this class interesting, then it'll be as boring as it is. But Morty and the Stoner family, it was a pleasure meeting you. Mr. Chaffetz, it's wonderful to see you. Mr. Shapiro, wonderful to see you. And although I haven't heard or seen from Mrs. Zimmer, I have to say, if everybody gives me like 1 second there we go. Okay. I have to say, I haven't said it in the past classes, but Mrs. Zimmer's son is one of my closest friends and one of my chavrusa of ours. I've learned with him. We were learning together on 9/11. So that's how long I've been learning with him. And I have to say, if you could raise a son like Aaron Zimmer, so then you have to be a very, very special mom. So I know we've met in person, but you should be very, very proud of your son and very, very proud of your family. I know you also have a daughter, and it's wonderful to see you every week. But I just wanted to make sure to mention that. And everybody should have a wonderful week. We should have peace among the Jewish people, and everybody see you next time.
Thank you.
Before you sign off, I actually finally was able to get some audio here. Are you still there?
We're here. We're listening.
Oh, so
given all of this plays very well with the religious Jewish audience. How do we speak to the non-Jewish world about our claim to the land and our defense of the land and that kind of thing?
So there's different approaches. I take 4 different approaches. I'm not going to go through the whole thing in detail with you right now because that's a whole other class. But I take a religious approach, I take a legal approach, I take a historical approach, and I take a moral approach. I have 4 different arguments as to why the Jewish people have rights to the land, and not one of them. Look, at the end of the day, unfortunately, force speaks louder than any words and any argument. Somebody doesn't want to listen to us, they're not going to listen to us. Doesn't matter what reasoning you're going to give. So that's unfortunately the truth. But there are great arguments to give, and those are the 4 categories of arguments. But you should know the religious argument is, without a doubt in my mind, after spending years studying this stuff, the argument that convinced most of the world to give the Jewish people the land. Most of the countries that voted to give the Jewish people Israel in the partition vote in the United Nations on November 29, 1947, were working from a religious framework. It might have been a Christian framework, but it was a religious framework, and that's why they voted for it. Today, the United States Congress is over 30% evangelical. The American is 50 million evangelicals in America. These people believe the land is ours, and different than us, they believe it's exclusively ours, meaning they believe that every moment we allow somebody not Jewish on our land, it's a sin to God. We don't believe that. They're stricter on it than we are. I tell people, don't cancel out the religious argument. You use that first, because that's the only argument you're going to hit 30 something odd percent of the population. All your other arguments might hit 10%, 15% might be convinced by it, but the religious argument, over 30% of the world is going to agree to it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a fascinating series. You have one more class, right?
One more next week on Yom Ha'atzmaut.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Hope to meet you in person sometime.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
I wish we
Shalom.
found